I'm Robin Smith, live in the News 4 studios. We're interrupting Great Day and your other programming to bring you breaking news out of Franklin County. The Sheriff's Department now telling us we have at least 50 injuries in this case. Now, as we told you just a few moments ago, there's an accident on Interstate 44 heading east. It's at the Gray Summit exit, which is also known as Highway 100. We're told that there are 2 buses involved and an 18-wheeler. Now, News 4 can confirm there are injuries, 50 injuries, according to the Franklin County Sheriff's Department. You are looking live on News 4 right now at this tragic scene. This is the scene where we know, we can confirm here at News 4, 50 injuries, 1 child dead, 2 school buses involved, an 18-wheeler. You can see a scene there that spreads across the highway, even into the median.
Right now, News 4's Mark Cox is on the scene, and he joins us now by phone. Mark, what can you tell us?
Well, John, we're just rolling up on this now as you and I speak, and our photographer is about to get out of the car and try to get some ground-level shots. This is easily one of the most devastating scenes I've seen in a long time.
He said there are signs down here warning people to go slow, to take it about 50 miles an hour. Both of those drivers I talked to walked up to the scene. They helped get kids out of the back of the school bus that is still on the ground down here that actually ran into the first bus.
This is a storm mode update from the Forewarned Storm Team.
Good morning, I'm Forewarned Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. 2 storms out there with tornado warnings on them, the potential to produce a tornado at any moment. One of these storms is headed for the St. Louis metro, and it has earlier produced some damage, turning over mobile homes, taking out trees. So let's get to the latest radar and bring you up to speed on where these storms are and where they're headed. You see the 2 red boxes there. Those are our 2 tornado warnings. One is a huge one that, yes, includes the St. Louis metro and now parts of Illinois and the Metro East. I'm basically noticing a particular area along this line where there could be a tornado right now or forming any moment, and it's right here in the Baldwin area. So this is to the east of Ellisville. This is right west of Manchester, and what I'm seeing as we take a look at this Doppler winds, looking at the winds within the storm, what I'm seeing is winds are going towards the radar very fast this way, and then that red represents winds going away from the radar. So that shear, the difference in directions, is creating that rotation.
I'm up here, Steve and Matt, and yeah, we flew a little further ways down, and we can see this damage here. I believe these are homes, Steve. There may be a business or 2 in here, but these definitely look like single-family homes. And if we could really kind of zoom out, you can get some perspective on what we're looking at here in Sunset Hills. And you know, a couple blocks over, absolutely no damage. Everything is fine. And then you turn a corner on this block, and just look at that.
Fence or the railing on the overpass has fallen onto the highway. Now, this is the entire length of the fence along one side of the overpass. Again, you're looking live from Sky Zoom 4. We're told that a car may have struck the fence. Again, take a look live from Sky Zoom 4. You're looking at the fencing right there in the center of the interstate. Interstate 70 at West Florissant is shut down in both directions. You will have to avoid that area. You may want to use the service road instead. And of course, Sky Zoom 4 will remain on the scene. We'll have News 4 crews there to bring you the latest.
Thank you, Matt. We have another crew arriving now on the scene of that major accident on Interstate 64 and Highway 40 that has shut down traffic in both directions at Grand.
Yeah, News 4's Nick Zervos is just arriving on scene. He's bringing us pictures from his cell phone. These are live pictures of the scene. Nick, tell us what you're seeing.
Good morning, John. Yes, I just arrived here. It was hard getting down here. This is a weird place to shoot something because the overpass is elevated and it goes down underneath the ground a little bit here. But Brent Reese was right earlier when he was reporting. I see ambulances and fire trucks also involved in this accident. Broken windows in those vehicles. You'll see a crew right here just standing on top of a vehicle. They're trying to get people out. There's multiple injuries, multiple semi-trucks, cars spewing all over the place. I have never seen anything like this in a regular car accident. But here, let me get over here. They're taking people to the ambulance right here. Oh, my goodness. There's all kinds of people just laying on the ground. It's just a horrible scene right here, right now. So people, please be careful out here. And, you know, the highways are very dangerous right now. I see at least 6 people in one ambulance right now just sitting there with minor injuries. There's about 6 people in there, and they're just people huddled in blankets, just sitting on the highway. Many ambulances, they have also gotten in accidents too over here. It looks like they're using an airbag to pump up a car to get it off of something else. But so please, people, avoid I-64 eastbound. I would find a different way downtown today.
Yeah, Nick, certainly both lanes, both directions are going to be shut down as crews are working on this scene. And as you heard Nick describing, these rescues are happening right now in real time. You're looking live at these pictures, Interstate 64, Highway 40 at Grand Avenue. Nick's getting up closer to the overpass there where we saw emergency crews standing on the hoods of cars desperately trying to get to people trapped in their cars. We continue to get more reports of injuries from this particular scene. At this point, we had heard 8 injured. That number likely to increase. We're told 1 person critically injured at this time.
This is a story that is going to be developing throughout the morning, and you can bet that News 4 will be staying on top of this. We have multiple crews on the scene right now. We'll be checking back in with them constantly throughout the morning.
The winter blast blew in from the west.
Maggie Crane spent time on the leading edge in Lincoln County. And Maggie, what are the conditions at this hour?
Larry, right now they're nearly impassable. The more rural you get and the farther west you get, not a good combination for the people of Troy and in Lincoln County.
My heart is with these kids.
You could feel the anger.
People are upset.
Directed at Ferguson Florissant Superintendent Jeff Spiegel.
I think it's ridiculous.
And the board that gave Spiegel and his wife free lifetime health care just for him agreeing to 1 more year on the job.
It was a horrendously wrong choice by this board.
According to the district, the board cut the deal with Spiegel just before it cut $15.5 million from the district budget.
You're taking it away from the kids.
I've been in the area 8 years, and this is not the first time that this happened.
Enough is enough. Those are his words.
You know, as I said, parents have choices. And if he's in District 189, which he is, he has some choices. I can't tell you that every school is excellent. We wish that they were, but the high school is not.
And that's why the Woodards are thinking about moving to Belleville for the promise of a stable environment and quality education.
We are here.
Sure, on camera.
And Superintendent Dr. Charles Penberthy is there because he refuses to discuss his lucrative contract.
I don't need to take a lot of your time.
That contract pays him $216,000 a year in salary plus benefits for running a district with just 800 students, one of the smallest in the metro area. Fort Zumwalt has 24 schools. Brentwood has 4. Fort Zumwalt has an enrollment of nearly 19,000, which is 23 times larger than Brentwood's. Yet Penberthy receives a salary that's $42,000 a year higher than Dubray's.
I think people feel that I've been fair with them, and that's one of the ways you show that, especially in difficult financial times.
In one of the most congested parts of town, parking here is at a premium. But this is one spot you might want to drive on by.
That's it?
That's it right there.
Oh, geez, I better get out of here.
It's meter 507003, just down from the corner of Maryland and Euclid. Our investigation is getting results. The city of St. Louis is planning new signage on every 15-minute meter in the city to avoid future confusion. But more than a week after we brought it to their attention, nothing had changed. And we've been running promotions for this story all day long. I followed up with the city. They called me back late this afternoon to say the problem meter will be fixed by tomorrow.
There was never anything that just
no.
flipped a switch with you and made you think, my wife has psychic powers.
Absolutely not. I'm sorry, but it's hard to take serious because that is it's definitely not.
Over the years, Brown has repeatedly failed on her most publicized predictions, including her statement that Sean Hornbeck, a missing 11-year-old from Washington County, Missouri, was dead. It was a prediction she shared with Sean's parents on the Montel Williams show.
Is he still with us?
4 years later, Sean was found alive.
His wife wants to send him home with hospice. No, keep him there for a while.
I wanted to believe her. Yeah, I believed her.
I don't give a damn what the doctors say, Brown told Flans. Your son will survive.
He starts regaining strength even at the end of this month. They're not going to give him that long. They're only giving him I don't give a damn.
2 days later, Mark was dead.
Mark didn't want to die in the hospital. He wanted to go home.
Just pull up the American Sports and Fitness website and there's a plethora of options. Through ASFA, you can get certified as a personal trainer, Pilates instructor, even a sports nutritionist. According to the ASFA site, you must be over 18 to get your certification, so I took a test. I admit I cheated. I did not read one question, I just changed the answers until I got enough right to score a 76%. After paying $99, I got my certificate. So I took my certificate to Tower T in South County. Oh, that was nice. Wow, I wasn't slicing the ball as bad after getting my certificate, but I still wouldn't consider myself an expert.
So now what we'll do, we'll use the spiral staircase, which extends upward almost 4 stories, which will take us to the top of the main roof of the cathedral and put us at the base of the domes. When you see the cathedral from the outside, you'll only notice one dome, which is our main dome, the signature green tiles and so on. But there's actually 3 domes in the cathedral.
Let's get the vines off the tree, because when they're heavy, they provide a home for the insects. They'll eat the wood and make the wood rot. See, there go some spiders there. It doesn't take long for the vines to get going. They can be up to over my head in just a matter of almost weeks.
A lot of flash flooding. The water rose so quickly this evening that it turned roads into lakes. In North St. Louis County, rescue crews had to take serious steps using rafts to get to trapped drivers. That type of scene played out over and over as the heavy rain pounded the area.
And tonight we have team coverage of the storm. Let's start with Erica Byfield live at the scene of that rescue. Erica, you spoke to one of those rescuers.
I did, Larry. Well, 3 Pine Lawn police officers actually put their lives on the line tonight to save an elderly man. The people who live in this neighborhood tell me that in 7 minutes flat, this street behind me went from an inch of water to about 10 feet deep.
All we could see was the tail end sticking out and the rear window.
But it was what they could hear that caused 3 Pine Lawn officers to spring into action.
Then when we heard banging on the rear window, Officer David Calloway and Officer Stephen Blankeny swam in, broke the rear window, pulled the passenger out of the car, and swam with him.
Everything happened so quickly that the men didn't have any rescue gear. So instead of a rope, an officer grabbed and threw out this garden hose to help drag the driver back to shore.
The 3 of us were scared out of our wits. I mean, I can speak for the both of them, but they're trained police officers. And then when we heard the knocking on the window, we knew that we had to go in and save the gentleman.
By the time medical crews arrived, the driver's car was completely underwater. No one standing on the bank tonight wanted to think about what would have happened if the officers did not hear him banging. It may take them a while to get used to hearing it, but their mayor, chief, and even this reporter are calling them heroes.
Well, you guys were true heroes today.
Thank you.
News 4 never stops.
I pulled, getting off the road, those 2 buses passed by me. You know, and one hit the pickup truck and the other one, I seen it, but I didn't see it. It happened so fast.
It's been a horrible, horrible day in our community, and it will be felt forever.
It was going to be a good day, and it turned into a terrible day.
I feel so bad for the family. It's about it. I'm not worried about myself as much as I am my peers.
Good evening, everyone. A deadly school bus crash killed 1 student and a pickup truck driver and injured dozens more. We have a full hour of expanded coverage of the crash. It all began around 10:15 this morning on Interstate 44 near Villa Ridge. That's not far from Gray Summit. Traffic on the eastbound lanes came to a complete stop as crews worked to clear the horrific scene. It involved 2 school buses, an SUV, and an 18-wheeler cab. 1 student, a teenage girl, on the bus in front, and a driver in that pickup truck caught under the bus are dead tonight. The 2 buses were carrying band members from the John F. Hodge High School in St. James. They were on their way to Six Flags to celebrate the end of summer band camp. News 4 has been on top of this story all day long. We have crews in several locations. My partner, Larry Connors, leads our team coverage tonight from St. James. Mark Cox reports from the accident scene near Villa Ridge. Erica Byfield is at Cardinal Glennon Hospital in St. Louis, where 36 of the students were taken. And Deanna Zoga is at St. John's Mercy Medical Center in Creve Coeur, where several more of the injured students were taken. And Larry, new information about the driver of that truck, a member of the Missouri Tiger football team.
Yes, we've been hearing that, and some of that has not been confirmed at this point because we're still getting sketchy details. It continues to be a developing story, the name not being publicly released at this time from this position anyway. You know, let's talk about those students for a moment. Anyone can imagine what it was like for these students. They're all excited. They're going to Six Flags. They've been through the band camp. They're loading onto 2 buses this morning, leaving from here, going to Six Flags. They get about 66 miles from this spot, just a dozen miles within Six Flags, and that's when tragedy strikes. And when you see the scene and you see all the pictures again of these 2 buses piled together, and imagine now what it was like for those students on board, a frightening situation. As the buses collided, the students tried to see who was okay, who could get out. And as we talked to one student, we found out exactly what it was like on board.
I was just trying to get away, trying to get everyone away from the bus because I could smell gas, and that was about it.
The boys' bus.
That was a frightening part of it because gas was everywhere. When the fire crews arrived, one of the first things to do was to foam down the area so there would not be a fire as they continued to evacuate the students. It was only later, much later, that some of the students were told that one of their band members had been killed in that accident. Let's go to Mark Cox at the scene. He's been there all day working this, and he has exactly more details on how this unfolded. Mark.
Well, Larry, that pile-up earlier today happened at a spot here on I-44, notorious for backups right now because there is, of course, a construction zone just about a mile to the east of where I am right now. Authorities, authorities tell me the traffic regularly backs up here that hour of the morning, and that led to this tragedy just after 10 o'clock this morning. The scene sends chills through any parent whose child has ever taken a field trip. Investigators say a construction backup and inattentive driving led to this chain reaction.
Volvo running bobtail, which is no trailer, was rear-ended by the GMC pickup. At that point, the first driver of the school bus failed to notice those 2 vehicles.
There were witnesses who say this accident could have been avoided. Eugene Reed was driving this USA Tours bus when he saw the pickup truck strike the tractor some 400 feet ahead of him. He immediately pulled over, but the 2 school buses rushed past him.
There was lots of time to stop, for everybody to stop. But you got to be paying attention now. There was lots of time for them to stop.
It's not clear if the man driving the pickup truck died in the initial crash or after being hit by the bus. But investigators say the female student who died was sitting in the right rear seat of the first bus and was apparently killed by the impact of the second bus.
We believe she was in the last seat of the first bus on the right. The collision from the second bus struck the rear of the first bus, and we believe that's where the fatal occurred.
Okay.
Well, traffic was shut down for about 5 hours on I-44 eastbound. As you can tell, it reopened a little over an hour ago for all lanes. If there are any charges in this accident, it'll be up to the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. The Missouri Highway Patrol telling me they will turn over their findings to the Franklin County Prosecutor when all this is wrapped up. There were also a lot of heroes out here this morning because there were 40-some students who needed assistance, and a lot of those heroes came from the traffic that was piled up behind this traffic accident today. My colleague Matt Cesney is joining us with that part of the story. Matt?
Well, Mark, as soon as this crash happened out here on 44, other drivers out here on the interstate sprang into action to try and help those students get out of those school buses. You can only imagine the panic and confusion that occurred right after the collision, but several drivers were able to reach the students in the bus and offer some help. Some of those who did help told us they did not want to talk about the experience, many still shaken up by what they saw. But one man who did talk with us says he was stationed at the back of one bus helping students get out.
Kids were crying and stuff. That's all it was. Kids were crying. We tried to get the kids out of the bus.
What kind of injuries did they have?
They were just bleeding. Some of them were bleeding.
Of course, all of those injured here at the scene were treated by paramedics and then transported out to other area hospitals. At last count, that number was at least 45 students taken out to area hospitals. There is more on that situation coming up in the newscast, but for now, at least those heroes stepped in quickly to help those students immediately after the accident. We're live in Villa Ridge. Matt Cesney, News 4.
All right, Mark Cox, Matt Cesney, thanks for that report. And of course, when you have a mass casualty situation like this, all emergency services are pressed to the limit. And with so many students, they had to be moved immediately to 3 different hospitals. Erica Byfield joins us now from Cardinal Glennon Hospital, which got the bulk of the students. Now, many of these, Erica, I understand, were able to actually walk inside.
They were. Actually, 35 of them were able to walk inside the hospital here behind me, and all 36 students were brought here to Cardinal Glennon. I am happy to report tonight that only 10 remain inside this hospital here behind me. While this hospital was a place that they went to seek care after this accident, it was also the place that they learned that they'd lost one of their friends today. One student was flown in while 35 others with less serious injuries were dropped off by a charter bus. Once inside Cardinal Glennon Hospital in South St. Louis, nurses and doctors examined each one of them.
Those kids have been through a lot. They're bumped, they're shaken, they're bruised up, but we're taking really good care of them.
It was here outside the hospital that we were able to talk to one of the students who was on the second bus.
I wasn't able to see much. I was on the back of the bus. All I know is that the impact was pretty large.
Colby Griffith says after the crash, everyone worked together to get off the bus and move as far away from the wreckage as they could.
I was just trying to get away, trying to get everyone away from the bus because I could smell gas.
When things calmed down, the 17-year-old called his parents.
His first words were, Dad, we've been involved in an accident and we need you to start praying.
While Rocky and Kelly Griffith are glad they can take their son home tonight, they say that their thoughts are with each and every one of the band members.
They're a tight group. They're gonna come together through this, through the community, and we're gonna come up under the family, and we just ask for everybody to pray for them.
Colby Griffith hopes that they can dedicate this band season to the friend they lost on Thursday.
We just can't shut down because of this. This is a major blow to us. But I know we'll do this.
Well, of the 10 students who are here tonight, I'm told that 9 should be leaving very shortly, within the hour. In fact, right now it looks like only one of those students, a female student, will be remaining here overnight. At her parents' request, the hospital will not release any information about her condition. Live in South St. Louis, Erica Byfield, News 4.
All right, thank you, Erica. And again, Cardinal Glennon, one of 3 hospitals where students were transported. One of the others, St. John's Hospital. That's where Deanna Zoga picks up that part of the story. Deanna.
Well, Larry, all the students treated here at St. John's Mercy Hospital here in Creve Coeur have been sent home. Initially, after this crash, 6 were brought here. One of them, in critical condition, has been transferred by medical helicopter to Children's Hospital in St. Louis. That left 5 here at St. John's Mercy. And as of 3:30 this afternoon, all of them went home with bumps, bruises, scrapes, but otherwise, Larry, these kids are okay. The medical director of emergency pediatrics tells me the students were very brave. She also describes watching their reactions once their parents arrived to pick them up.
Some of the kids are very stoic. Some of them are great until their parents show up, and then they are very emotional once their parents are there, like they have the feeling that they can kind of let loose now, and they feel comfortable now that their parents are there letting their emotions show.
Dr. Eckhart there says that her staff checked those students out, performed x-rays. None suffered broken bones, so some good news there. She could not, however, give us much more information about that one student that arrived here in critical condition, except to say that that student needed more specialty care, and that's why that person was sent by medical helicopter to Children's Hospital in St. Louis. Larry.
Thank you, Deanna. And also a couple students, at least 2, went to St. Clair Hospital in Fenton. As you heard that one student say in our report, basically, he had called his father and said, Dad, you need to pray for us. Despite what we saw in those pictures, this tragedy could have been worse. It does not lessen the fact for the family that lost that daughter or the driver of that other vehicle. But when you consider so many students in the middle of this massive accident, it could have certainly have been worse. We have an hour-long program lined up for you with much more details coming, and I'll continue to report here from St. James here at the school. Vicki?
You're absolutely right, Larry. When you look at those pictures, it is absolutely amazing, and such a traumatic morning for those students and the parents in St. James, the entire community, in fact.
And what we're expecting to have in this second hour coming up, we're going to be talking to a local pastor as to how this community is going to try to get through it in the school. There is a memorial service planned in the next hour from 6 to 7. We'll be covering that and update that for you at 10 o'clock. Also going to be talking to the mayor here in a few moments about how this community is pulling together to make sure these students and their parents know how much they're loved and going to be comforted through this time. Vicki?
So we'll check back with you very soon. And even earlier today, the students were saying and asking everyone on their Facebook pages to certainly pray for them. News 4 again confirming that the man killed in that pickup truck, Daniel Schatz of Sullivan. Schatz is a member of the Missouri Tigers football team. We will have much more coverage of today's accident, as Larry indicated. We are preempting the CBS Evening News to bring you a full hour of News 4 at 5 o'clock, followed immediately by News 4 at 6. So coming up, we will return to Larry, who is in St. James, and our News 4 reporters who are at Cardinal Glennon and St. John's Mercy Hospital. So stay with us. Our expanded News 4 coverage continues in just a moment.
You're watching News 4 in high definition.
You're watching expanded News 4 coverage of today's school bus crash in Villa Ridge, Missouri. One student is dead, along with the driver of a truck. The students were in 2 school buses traveling from their high school band camp in St. James to Six Flags. The buses crashed into a pickup and an 18-wheeler cab that had stopped in the eastbound lanes of Interstate 44. The wreck happened about 50 miles from St. James. We have live team coverage with crews in 3 different locations. And let's go again to Larry Connors, who is live in St. James. And Larry, this is a small town of less than 4,000 residents where this morning's crash is touching a lot of lives because so many people know each other.
That's a very big point, and Chris Nagel is going to address that in a moment. And here at James Hodge High School, we have seen those students and their parents gathering in prayer, coming back out and leaving. They don't want to really talk at this point that much, and we certainly understand, we appreciate that, and we're giving them the space they need through this grieving process, because in the midst of all this, of course, they lost a band member, a colleague, a friend, and someone's daughter. So they're all very conscious of that. Chris Negus has been at the high school all day watching as this is unfolded. Chris, you have a perspective that's unique.
And Larry, all afternoon we've been saying this is a tight-knit community. It is a tight-knit school, a place where everybody knows somebody that has been touched by this tragic accident. Now, I want to show you some video that we've shot in the past hour, hour and a half, all afternoon. Students and parents have been arriving here at Hodge High School. We are told they have been praying inside. They have been together for emotional support. It really is just a feeling of disbelief in this small community located between Springfield and St. Louis. One parent who rushed up here after learning the news told me she never wants her daughter to ride the school bus again. Now, of course, that is an emotional reaction to what happened here this afternoon. This situation has left every parent in St. James in shock.
We've been praying, you know, and I just wish something could have changed and not made this happen. It was going to be a good day, and it turned into a terrible day. And I'm really shook up. I'm sorry.
And again, we have mentioned how powerful prayer is in this small community. As we've said, they've been praying inside this high school. They're planning a prayer vigil that starts at 6 o'clock at the middle school here in St. James. A big turnout expected there. Live in St. James, Chris Negus, News 4.
All right, thank you, Chris. And with me now, Jasmine Huda. And Jasmine's been going around the town today, and while Chris was focusing on the school, you've been talking to community members, and again, you find that grief is already widespread.
Absolutely. As Vicki had alluded to earlier, news of this just spread quickly, and it's touched so many people. It's almost an exception if you didn't know someone who was on that school bus. And if you didn't know someone on that school bus, chances are you knew someone who knew someone who was on that school bus. And in a small town like this, a population of about 4,000, the news spread quickly by word of mouth. Many people then glued to their television sets to find out the latest developments here. We spoke with the mayor, Mayor Wilson of St. James, and a lot of people in downtown St. James who said that they are just shocked and saddened by what happened this morning.
You know, it's one of those cases where you know just about everybody. Kids are involved in similar activities, be they sports, be they school activities, band and music and those type things. And so it's just total shock.
Scared to death. Scared to death. You know, it just really worried us, you know, because we're a small community, and you know, we know all the kids, a lot of the kids and their parents and everything, and it just really did scare us bad.
So a lot of these people are pulling together in this time of sadness. And an interesting point to bring up, we were speaking with the mayor earlier about the latest developments regarding this accident on I-44, and he said, you know, a lot of the parents were getting the information firsthand before I was, or before the school was. You know, in this electronic age, people were text messaging each other, they were getting on website. So news spreading and spreading quickly about what happens.
All right, thank you, Jasmine. And Jasmine will be co-anchoring at 6 o'clock with me as we bring you more here from St. James, and we have more coming up in this special hour edition, Vicki. We'll be back in a few moments.
We will talk with you later, Larry. Thank you again. We want you to know that if you would like to watch the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric, it will be broadcast on our digital channel 4.2 or Charter Cable 154. In the meantime, we have much more coverage of this tragedy involving the John F. Hodge High School Band in St. James, Missouri. We have even more coverage online, that's KMOV.com, including pictures and videos of the band. You can also leave your thoughts, your comments, your prayers for the town, for the band members, and the families of today's victims. We will be right back with more coverage, so stay with us. We continue our expanded coverage of today's bus crash. Let's go back to my colleague Larry Connors in St. James.
Thank you, Vicki. And as we mentioned earlier, there is going to be a prayer service coming up from 6 to 7 o'clock at the middle school. And one of those participating is with me right now, Pastor Dennis Goddard. He had at one time served also as the chaplain for the police department. Paul Goddard, please forgive me, sir. First of all, what will you try to say at this memorial service tonight to ease and comfort?
Well, I won't be participating in the service itself. I will just be there to provide comfort and support to the families.
And what do you say to them on an individual basis if they are hurting?
Usually just speak to them in terms of that these things happen in life, that, you know, faith or not, everyone has to face these kind of trials and tribulations. And of course, as a pastor, I'll bring the comfort of the gospel to them.
It's very tough though, isn't it? And I know as all the years of the ministry, you've seen things like this before, but when you're talking to parents and friends who have seen a young life suddenly snatched from them, how do you help them get past that grieving?
Well, what I found in my 24 years here is this is a community of faith that you might have noticed. There's a church on almost every corner.
Churches every corner.
This whole street, if you go James Boulevard, you'll find the same thing. And the people really mesh together at a time like this, support one another, and it's almost as though the community is a family.
What went through your mind today when you began to hear this tragedy? What was the first thought you had?
I was immediately worried when I saw the bus up in the air the way it was. Just my first thought was, I don't see any way anyone could have survived.
And I guess within that, I mean, you know, a prayer that was even unspoken at that point, one loss of life is too much.
Yeah.
But in this case, it could have been so much worse. So there's a lot of prayer thanks to that extent.
Yeah. But it doesn't ease, you know, the loss that we've had, but it is a blessing to know that, you know, we're only dealing with, you know, the one locally and then the driver of the pickup, of course. Our thoughts and prayers will be with him as well.
This memorial service, of course, is going to start here around 6 o'clock. But the grief and the pain is going to last well beyond this day, so it's not going to be over today.
Well, my concern will be when school starts again and the students are on campus and their friends not there. You know, they're in kind of a shock stage now, and then, you know, things are going to hit again at that point.
All right. Pastor, thank you very much for taking time to be with us, and I want to thank you very much for sharing some of your thoughts.
Glad.
Pastor Paul Goddard, thank you very much. Vicki, we'll have more coming up here from St. James in a few moments.
Some painful days ahead for the community, Larry. We'll talk to you later. We will have more coverage of today's school bus accident in just a moment. We are preempting the CBS Evening News to bring you expanded coverage from 5:30 until 6. But first, we want to take a moment to tell you about the other news we are covering today. St. Louis police are looking for the man caught on this surveillance video. There is a frightening story behind these photos. Police say the man tapped on the window of a woman's car as she was visiting the ATM at Southern Commercial Bank in the 5500 block of South Grand. He demanded money. She refused and drove off, and that's when police say the man fired a shot at her car, breaking her window. The driver, 60 years old, suffered minor injuries from the shattered glass. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers at 1-866-371-TIPS. Meanwhile, the FBI continues to investigate leads in the case of Monday's armored car robbery. ATM Solutions now offering a $150,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction. Investigators say 4 men attacked 2 workers on Monday and ran off with millions. John Wesley Jones is charged with weapons violations. The FBI says he was driving a car with a loaded gun and a trunk full of money. News 4 has gotten results for viewers concerned about the safety of the water in Fenton's River Chase pool. It's now closed for deep cleaning. We told you last night about 40 people who attended a family reunion there last month and became sick with diarrhea, vomiting, and fever about 5 days later. Now, more reports of illness. News 4's Mark Schneider talked to one of the people who's been sick and the mayor about the concerns.
After our story on the Fenton pool situation aired yesterday, I got 4 emails from 3 different families telling me they were at the pool on July 17th, the same day as that family reunion, and they and their kids got sick, including a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old little girl who live here. Natalie and Naomi Briggs were at the pool with their aunt.
2 weeks is a long time to have 2 kids that were so sick. And a little bit of relief knowing that it wasn't something we had done, and then anger.
I shared the emails I received with Fenton's Mayor Dennis Hancock.
I think coincidental at this point.
Mayor Hancock is not convinced the River Chase pool is the source of the parasite that made so many pool visitors sick. We've heard from people from a family reunion, a birthday party, and a mom whose kid was with their aunt and some cousins. 3 different groups that were there on that same day, and they all got sick. You think that's still a coincidence? They all ate the same potato salad?
Well, I think that when you look at the number of people that were at the pool, not only that day, that weekend, I mean, again, it was 2 weeks after the fact before we heard about it. So anytime during that same 2-week period, we haven't heard from anyone else who was affected.
The St. Louis County Health Department will not test for cryptosporidium. It's not required or recommended by the CDC. But after our reports in reaction to them, the county decided to have Fenton close the River Chase pool for deep cleaning. It should reopen by noon Friday. In Fenton, Mark Schneider, News 4.
And an important update to a story we have been following all week. The Belleville City Pool is closed for the rest of the year. The parasite was found in the water, and at least 4 people who recently went swimming there became sick. The illness is caused by a parasite called cryptosporidium. It lives in the intestines and it is resistant to chlorine. Now the St. Clair County Health Department is having all of the pools in the county tested for that parasite. It's possible this could lead to other pools being closed for some time. In national news, Elena Kagan is now the 112th justice to sit on the United States Supreme Court. The Senate confirmed President Obama's nominee. The vote was 63-37 and largely along party lines. Kagan will succeed Justice John Paul Stevens, who is retiring. By the way, she's the 4th woman to serve on the court. We have a programming note for those of you wanting to see today's episodes of The Bold and the Beautiful and As the World Turns. These shows were preempted this afternoon because of our coverage of today's school bus accident. The Bold and the Beautiful will air at 2:42 tomorrow morning. As the World Turns will air immediately following at 3:12. And we do apologize for the inconvenience. Turning to the weather now, it is cooler today.
Yeah, it is. It's still a hot day, not nearly as bad as it has been the past 2 days. In fact, just take a look back at the past couple of days with the triple-digit heat. 102 Tuesday, 101 Wednesday, and today our high, 91 degrees. Still hot, but hey, much better, and the humidity's falling too. Here's some good news and some bad news. Good news first. Relief continues tomorrow, Saturday. A couple of great days if you've been postponing those outdoor plans. Friday and Saturday are great days to get something done outside, especially with the humidity dropping even more tomorrow and Saturday. Here's the bad news. Another heat wave is coming next week. It starts Sunday. It goes into early next week. So now is the time to think ahead. Make sure that air conditioner is working properly. If you have any kind of outdoor plans, you probably want to do them Friday or Saturday before we get back into a real intense heat wave again next week. And it looks like this one next week could last for a few days, 3 or 4 days, maybe a little bit longer. Right now, let's just enjoy the break, right? 90 degrees in Creve Coeur right now, 90 also in Shiloh, and we're dealing with Scottsdale and Jefferson County at about 89 degrees. We had that front pass through, produced some really strong storms down in Festus, Prairie du Rocher, and dealt with some strong winds and some damaging winds that produced some trees coming down in that area. That was just south of St. Louis. Festus is one of those towns that had that report, and we're dealing now with dry conditions across the area, so we don't have to worry about that for the rest of the evening. Less humid, dry, mostly clear. Temperatures are going to be in the 80s, but without the humidity, that's a warm, more typical summer evening, so that's something we get to enjoy today as we head into the rest of the night. In fact, overnight tonight, our temperature drops down to a level we haven't seen since July 3rd, 67 degrees at 6 a.m. We haven't been in the 60s for our morning low since early July. July. A little bit of patchy fog is certainly possible as well for in the morning hours, but otherwise mostly sunny skies. And by the time we get to noon, it's a warm 83 degrees, but again, the humidity less than it was today. It'll be a hot day tomorrow, around 89 degrees, but nothing out of control, very near normal. Normal's about 90, and we'll hit 89 degrees by 5 o'clock. Again, mostly sunny. So a real nice day on tap for your Friday. A Saturday, I think we do it again, maybe even better because a lot of people have Saturday off. 91 for the high, the low again 67. Early in the morning, great time to exercise too because it'll be somewhat cooler and more refreshing. As we head into Sunday though, that's when those temperatures crank up a little bit as we head to a high of 95 degrees, partly cloudy. Notice a dry weekend for us too, but it gets hotter Sunday, it gets a little bit more humid, and that's just the beginning of what will be our next heat wave. So we only really get a couple days here, well, maybe if you include today, 3 days to enjoy somewhat more near normal summer heat before we get back into the intense heat. So tomorrow, 89 degrees and a nice day. 91 on Saturday, but without too much humidity, should be still enjoyable. 95 and a little bit more humidity Sunday, and here comes the heat Monday and Tuesday. Highs around 98 degrees, 97 Wednesday. A chance of some storms Wednesday, perhaps at least right now, it's 7 days out, but right now it looks like a better chance on Thursday. And you know, as we get closer to those hot days, Monday and Tuesday,